All right, welcome to another edition of the Edlow podcast. Subscribe. Every time I do one of these, I say I'm really excited about it, but this one is one of my favorites. I have the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal maniac known as Sabu. Sabu, welcome to the Edlow podcast.
Thank you. Sorry about the late notice. I had my time zone wrong.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. So I got to tell you a story. This is what was it. So I think it might have been 1997, 1998, and I was in Sacramento. That's where I'm from, and still live here. And there was some commercials going on for an indie promotion that was running at the Memorial Auditorium called National Wrestling Council. And I had never really seen ECW or knew anything about it. The main event was like Jake the Snake and Coco Beware against the Honky Tonk Man and Greg Valentine. And so, my dad and I were like, let's go check it out. So we go and we check it out. And then we find that there's the first time I'd ever run into Sabu. And Sabu was wrestling. I can't remember what his name was at the time, but he ended up being Crash Holly from All Pro Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And
Crash Holly?
Yeah.
It wasn't Bobby Bradley?
Nope, it was Crash Holly. And I remember when you came out, you absolutely lit the crowd up. You absolutely lit the crowd up. And it was the first time I'd ever seen someone go through a table. And it blew my mind watching you. And so when later that year we started seeing commercials for ECW pay-per-views, you were the reason why we purchased the pay-per-view. And my first ECW pay-per-view was Heatwave 98, where you and Rob Van Dam wrestled a tag team match against Hayabusa and Shinsuke Sasaki, I think his name was. And it was just an absolute mind blow. And so tell me, when did you were trained by your uncle to be a technical wrestler, right?
Yeah. My first 5 years were just, first match, don't leave the ring, don't go to the top rope more than once, and not too many high spots, usually a 10-minute Broadway, a 10-minute draw usually.
Wow.
I did that for like 5 years, and he didn't want me to learn nothing else at that point. That was the first step.
So what is it that turned you from that into becoming kind of a hardcore icon?
Well, because I humbly accepted the way he trained me, but when he wasn't looking, I still did my own thing a little bit, when he wasn't looking, as in practice. He wasn't around in practice. Not during a match. If I did during a match, I would have got told on, and said I was hard to deal with. But I always got accused of working too hard, but not working wrong, just working too hard. So everybody else did. But like I said, when he wasn't watching, I would be practicing what I really inside or what I really wanted to do.
So
that wasn't a style or nothing yet. There was nothing to it. It was only a drawing board.
So would you say? I mean, were there multiple guys at that time that were kind of introducing that style, or were you kind of the innovator?
No. I didn't even see it before. When I described it to Rob and showed him on a mattress and stuff, he goes, "Nobody will let you do that. It's too stiff." I said, "Well, we'll change it. We'll make them take it."
Nice. And so you have this going on, and they're taking it. What was the reaction from everybody?
They didn't take it at first. I didn't put it out until I went to Japan. I never used it in the ring before, and until I went to Japan the first time, when me and my uncle get ready to go to the ring, and I said, "What do you want me to do tonight? Well, that's different because I wrestle like everybody else. I do the same shit as everybody else." He goes, "Do that shit when you think I'm not watching you, in the backyard." So when I thought he wasn't watching me, he was watching me. He just wasn't getting on my ass, And so he goes, "Now's the time to do that." And I go, "Well, how am I going to tell them to do it?" He goes, "Just make them do it." And it was rough, but we made him do it. It wasn't that tough, but it was rough looking.
Right. So now tell me, when you're going through this stuff and you're doing this, did you kind of figure out was there a lot of rumblings from other people that were like, hey, that's too much,
Yeah.
we can't follow it?
Yeah, most everybody would say you ain't doing that shit with me, and every older guy said you ain't doing that shit with me, kid. Everyone.
Right.
And I said, well, I don't plan on doing it with you. I only do it with someone who cooperates. Usually a green guy, and then Scorpio came out of the woodwork, and then Terry Funk came out of the woodwork. After Terry Funk allowed me to do it with him, it opened the gates for everything.
Oh, wow. Okay. So was that an ECW or was that before?
No, it was in Detroit. It was the independent show.
Okay. So you were working Terry Funk and he's just like, yeah,
before ECW. Before I was in ECW, he was in ECW before I wrestled him, though.
Ah, okay. So now tell me the story of how you ended up in ECW.
I was working in New Jersey for a guy named Dennis Corluzzo, NWA. And he goes, there's a guy in Philadelphia, Tad Gordon. He's a sucker. You could probably get $500 from him. And I go, you don't mind if I work for him? He goes, no, just take his money. He won't be around long. So I called him and said, hey, Todd, the Sabu, boom, boom. He goes, yeah, come on in. So I came in. I didn't have the heart to ask him for 500. I asked for 300, and he gave it to me. And then I came in, and it happened to be the same day Paul Heyman was there taking over. Like Paul didn't book me. He knew I was coming. I didn't know he was going to be there. And so then he just said, go out and do what you want to do. And I did, and I got over.
Wow. So
it became the pace of the wrestling for the last 30 years.
Yeah. Now, growing up, tell me, was it always the plan to become a pro wrestler?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And was it being around your uncle, or what was it about wrestling?
Well, I wasn't around him that much. He was influenced, because I followed him, but I wasn't around him only maybe once a week on Sundays when me and my family would go out there and visit him. But I wasn't really around him, and he didn't have us around wrestling. He shunned that from us. When the wrestlers came over for dinner, it'd be the bad guys in one room and the good guys in the other. And I just thought that's a coincidence. They just happened to be sitting at the same table, not that they're, Wow, no, bad guys are sitting together. That's odd.
Wow. So now, as you're going through, so what was it about wrestling that kind of drew you to it?
Well, physical, but watching my uncle, he was like Superman to me. So, I didn't look at the way he stabbed guys and bet him was cheating. I look at it as he was even in the odds. The guys were bigger than him.
Nice. So now, when you're going, what did were your parents did they like that? Were they into it, letting you do it?
My dad, I don't know. My mom didn't particularly like it, but she couldn't stop me. It would be impossible to stop me.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were growing up,
she never watched the whole match of mine all the way through, and never watched one live, I don't think. And she can't. She panics too much.
Now, so as she's panicking, when she was, what was it about it? She just was afraid that you're going to get hurt?
Yeah, even if I watched I try to get her to watch a videotape of me with me next to her, and she would cringe. I go, Mommy, even if I was hurt there, I'm not hurt anymore. And then she wouldn't believe me. She thinks I'm still hurt from that, whatever she just seen.
Nice. Now, so it was the Sheik your mom's brother or your dad's brother?
Yeah, it's my mom's brother.
Oh, okay. All right. So what did you think about her brother going and doing all that stuff?
That was just her brother. She had no control over that. Me being her son, she would probably want to shelter me from it, but she knew that you just couldn't, because I was grooming myself ever since a small age to be a wrestler.
Your parents, what did they do? What did they do for work? Was your dad do something different, or what did he do?
I'm not sure what my dad did, but my mom was a cook.
Lebanese cook. Oh, Lebanese cook. Nice. So, and as far as your family life, how many siblings you got?
3 brothers, 3 sisters.
Oh, wow. So growing up with where are you in the birth order? Are you the oldest, youngest?
I'm the youngest.
Oh, wow. So what did all your siblings think when they found out you were? Yeah. What did they all think when you were going through your, going to training and doing all that, getting into wrestling?
We said, hell yeah.
My sister's right here. She said, they laughed at me.
Yeah, nice. Oh, so your sister's there with you?
Yeah, I'm in Michigan visiting and she's here to go. I'm going to go have dinner with her in a few minutes.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, hello. What's your sister's name?
Pauline.
Pauline. Well, nice to meet you, Pauline. So,
Nice to meet you.
yeah. So tell me now. So back to you. Oh, so here we go.
Wait, let me see.
Hello. Hey, Pauline. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good. What does it tell me to someone like me who's been watching wrestling for years? What's it like to have your brother be Sabu? Like, does it? I mean, you're obviously not starstruck. What do you think about
Well, to start with, we grew up that way because of our uncle.
Sure.
When wrestling would come on the television, because you just watched it on Sunday night or whatever, my mom gathered us all around, and Sabu was pretty young, but we all sat down on the floor and, she turned it on because the Sheik was coming on. So it was in our life for a long time. And then when Sabu got into it, we were like, hell yeah. We knew because he was kind of a wild child anyway.
Oh,
I used to have a small black and white instant camera, and I took all kinds of pictures of him because he was so unpredictable. I would catch him. He'd climb up the side of the house with the eaves trough or something like that and get on top of the roof.
At what age?
And I was watching him. I was supposed to be babysitting for him, and he's up on the roof. I'm down here trying to get him to come down, and he wouldn't do it.
well, so
He just-
nothing changes, I guess.
No.
Climbing
was-
up all the roofs and everything.
Oh, since he was 4 years old. Yeah. I taught him to ride a bike at 4 years old. He was riding a 10-speed that he couldn't even sit on. He just stood up and pedaled. He was
All right.
crazy.
Okay.
So now tell me when you're
He wants all on his secrets.
yeah. So now, Sabu, what age did you start training?
I started wrestling in high school, junior high. I wrestled 5 years in junior high and high school, and then I started training pro wrestling when I was 19.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so how many years did it really take you? This is for, I know a lot of guys who are training. How many years did it take you before you really started like kind of making a living on wrestling?
7 years. It took 7 years. It wasn't
Wow.
until my first match in Japan. After my first match in Japan, I made a living after that.
Oh,
Before
wow.
that, I only made $100 a match. My highest was $100 a match. I started
Wow.
at $25 a match, or nothing, 25, and then after about 5 years, I got 100, and after 7 years, I got more than that.
Wow. So now when you're when you go to Japan, you start getting some notoriety, right? You start getting booked. When was it that you kind of morphed into this? I mean, you were always, even before I knew ECW, I'd heard of Sabu, right? I've heard of you,
Right.
and you'd done a little bit in WCW, but not really what you became. So when was it Japan that kind of got you into getting the notoriety?
Well, yeah, definitely. It was in 1991 was my first match in Japan. Ever since then, I never looked back. My star kept climbing, for like the next 10 years. So I was already developed before I went to WCW. I was already developed before I went to ECW. All those guys were just capitalizing. Nobody like groomed me from there. I was already developed in Japan. I was just honing it.
Sure. Now, when you
and what I was doing in Japan, everybody in the States would hear about it more than see it, and most of the boys would say, "He's not doing that with me because it takes two to dance," and they're right. I wouldn't do it. Guys didn't want to do it, but most everybody wanted to do it.
Sure. And that was the thing. One of the things I really liked about you when I watched that tag match, one of the things that I as someone who trained himself, you always, like, even though you had all of the acrobatics and you had all of the high flying moves, you were always going for the pin. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, man.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
someone called on my phone.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying, one of the things I really enjoyed about your matches was, even though you had all the high flying moves, you were always going for the pin. Like, I noticed, like, you would get a tag in and then you would immediately go for the pin, right? And it looked like you were legitimately trying to win. talk with me a little bit about your psychology when it comes to that.
Well, that's exactly, our first goal in wrestling is to pin the guy. Even if he trips and falls on his back, you take it. You don't let him back up and start over. First you pin him, then you let him back up so they start over. But the whole goal is to stay off your back and to put the guy on his back. So if the guy's already on his back and you're tagged in, you don't need to pick him up. He's already on his back.
Right.
No, I always treated it like I was trying to, like if I was a tag match, I always wanted to be the guy that got the win. Like I would set the guy up, but then I'd want to tag back in at all costs, so I would get the win, not just my partner. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now, did you train with Rob Van Dam?
Yeah. Well, I trained him, and then I trained with him.
Okay.
I was trained already, and then when he came along after about 5 years, I was trained. I trained him, and then after I caught him up to speed, almost, we started training together.
So, how did that friendship just kind of develop? Did he just show up at the training school?
It wasn't no friendship type thing. He came to my uncle and found his name out of somewhere and wanted to be a wrestler. So he came out and we looked at him and took it. My uncle, charged him some money, and then we started training him. It wasn't like I chose him for a reason. It was he wanted to be a wrestler, and that was that. Right place, right time.
Would you consider that he became a friend after that?
Well, yeah, he's definitely my closest friend in the wrestling business. That's for sure. By far, by anybody. There's nobody closer.
Yeah, and so now, who are some of the other people that you always used to kind of run with?
Luz McCauley, but he died. Mike Awesome, he died. Bobby Duncan, he died. Those guys, everything.
Yeah. I mean, well, and tell me, like, what? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because that's a story. Do you ever have any, like, you hear about people who are like in the military sometimes have like survivor's guilt? Do you ever have anything like that?
Guilt? No, I don't think guilt. No.
Okay.
Other than I wasn't there to save them. I wasn't there to save any of them.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe guilt's not the right word, but I mean, you've had numerous friends pass away.
Yeah, but that happens to everybody. It just happens to be my friends are in the the news line, the limelight or whatever. But if everybody has friends that pass away, nobody even hears about them, but they're close to them and all that shit. It just doesn't ruffle no feathers because it's not in the news.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Well, a lot of wrestlers are dying. A lot of people are dying. It just happens to look like a lot of wrestlers are dying because they're by name. If you didn't know their name, you wouldn't know they were wrestlers or dead.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. No, that's true. So tell me now, going back to your career, tell me about when you got into ECW. How did you hear a lot of different stories of people's experience with Paul Heyman and ECW. How would you describe your experience with them?
It was a little bitter towards the end, but it was a great overall. I was there 7 years, so I'd say six and a half years was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's your?
I regret quitting when I did and all that. I wish I wouldn't have.
And what was? Tell me the circumstances of quitting ECW. What happened?
Well, I had a secret meeting with WCW. And I was going to get a pretty good contract, but I this to go up into such and such room and meet these guys. So I go up there, and it was the wrong room. It was a room full of students. So one of those guys told Paul that I was there having a secret meeting. So I ignored it. I didn't know he did that yet. So I went and had the meeting, and they offered me a contract. And I go, well, let me take it to my hotel room and read it. They go, read it, just sign it. I said, well, I got to read it. But what I wanted to do was tell my mother first. So I took it to my hotel room, not knowing Paul already knows what's going on. He'd already brewing a defense. I didn't even know this. And so I was calling my mom to tell her, but she had a heart attack before I could tell her because the dogs were going crazy and I was on the phone and somebody's at the door. And so boom, boom, boom. I go home about 6 hours later and I go to Kevin, Kevin Sullivan. I go, I got the contract. I'm going to fax it over. I just signed. I'm going to fax it to you. He goes, too late. I go, what do you mean? He goes, we're already being sued. The contract's gone.
Oh, wow.
That was it. 6 hours.
Wow.
Now, the story goes, my mom had a heart attack when I told her no. She had a attack before I could tell her,
Man. So did you ever talk to Paul about that?
Okay. I'm sorry.
So did you ever talk to Paul Heyman about that?
Yeah, but not exactly about that. It's forgiven. Just think that him being so fat and where he's at now, he'd make up for it. But, but he has no conscience. I'm not the only one he screwed. But that was the biggest.
So you say he doesn't have any conscience. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, you don't care what that was a huge downfall for me not getting that contract. Because after he blew that contract up, I had to come back for him, which I didn't. He wanted me to do a thing, and he goes, after the match, after the guy pinned you, you can point up, you can shake hands, or you can just leave. I go, I'll just leave. He goes, deal. So I shook his hand, and I left before the match. And so that was like that. So he was trying to sue me after that.
Hmm. And the reason for that was because you had a contract with ECW?
Yeah, but it was bogus.
Okay.
In order for me to show that it was bogus, I had to get him in court. And Paul, I quote, he said, you'll go broke and try to get me in court. And he's right, I did.
Oh, wow. Man, when you were going through this, what did your people tell you? What did your confidants?
I didn't have people. There was no people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like RVD was there, right? I mean, a couple of these other guys. Did any of them?
Taking their side.
They was taking his side?
Yeah, because they're acting like I was trying to ruin ECW. I was not. I was trying to survive myself.
Right.
And they forgot that ECW was there because of me, not because of them. I brought them into it. Right.
Were you instrumental in getting RVD into ECW?
Most definitely, yeah.
And then I got to tell you, man, watching you guys as a tag team. I mean, that storyline between the two of you going for so long was one of the brightest spots in my mind of ECW. Like, did you?
Most of that wasn't really storyline. It was just an exaggeration storyline. Exaggeration.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, what would you think in ECW? What was your favorite? What was your favorite feud or angle while you were doing that?
I didn't care about any angle other than I wanted good matches. I didn't really pay attention that much to angles because Fonzie and Van Dam did, like the verbiage, and have to really pay attention to it. I just like to have a good match. Now, my favorite would probably be with Rob. The disrespect match and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of respect match. All right.
Now, what was when you got into wrestling? Did you have like a goal that you wanted to reach? Was like
yes and no. I wanted to be the best wrestler, of course, world champion. Who wouldn't? But like my style, like I said, I was a first match guy. Excuse me. I wore regular tights. My name was Terry SR. Terry Nobody. So, and that was the first point I had to learn. First, you learn how to wrestle. Then you learn how to be humble and wrestle in the first match and learn everything there is to know about wrestling until that next stage, which would be maybe a tag match or a 20-minute match or a main event match. But you don't start out in the main event in the first match. I didn't have a main event for 5 years. I didn't have a win for 5 years.
You didn't have a single win for 5 years?
No, I lost every night. And when I would go someplace to wrestle without my uncle, I go, all right, I'm away from him. Maybe they'll let me win tonight. They go, nope, your uncle said you got to lose. So even when I wasn't with them, he made me still be humble around guys where I shouldn't have been humble around.
Right. Now, but some people have like I want to go to the WWE or I want to go to this or I want to do that.
I never really had that. I thought that was cartoonish. Like I wanted to go to Japan and I wanted to wrestle NWA at the time, but I never really wanted to go like wrestle WWE until I figured out that's where all the money is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you finally did.
I didn't even know all the money was there in '94 when I had a tryout. I was stupid to it.
Really?
Yeah, I had a tryout there where I wrestled Owen Hart and Scotty Tuhati, and before the Owen Hart match, Vince had a meeting with me. He goes, "Hey, like you're in. We'd like to offer you something." Boom, boom, and he goes, "I go, what would you do about my name?" He goes, "We'd change your name and modify your look, and the Iron Sheik would be your uncle." And I go, oh man! And then he goes, you'd make 2.5 a year, which I figured about 250,000 a year. And I go, nah, I can't. And he goes, well, how can you turn down, my offer for? Because I go, no, I have a thing going with ECW when ECW starts going again. And he goes, "How can you turn down my offer for a company that might not be there tomorrow?" And I go, "I don't know." But I told Paul before I went that I wasn't going to take it. That was no matter what they threw at me, there was no way I would take it. And I didn't. Not that they threw $1 million at me, but at the time, $250,000 was $1 million to me.
Yeah, right. Now, so as you're going through, I mean, as you're going through your career, was there? I know you eventually end up in the WWE, but did it ever cross your mind like I need to get to New York?
Yeah, but I knew they'd change me. So like the hard-headed artist in me doesn't want to be changed. I want you to accept it for the way it is. And I thought after enough time that they would, they would say, okay. When they hired me, I figured they hired me as a 20-year Sabu experienced wrestler, veteran. They didn't. They hired me as a body to put the younger guys over, which was ridiculous. There's a time for that, but I wasn't ready for that. I was 40 years old, might sound old, but I wasn't. I felt pretty good. Not as good as I used to feel, but I still felt pretty good. And I thought I could change them, at least for me, but it couldn't. I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care if my idea was good or not. All they knew it wasn't their idea.
Mm. When you went to WCW and you had that discussion and they threw that contract, were they going to allow you to be Sabu? Were they going to allow you to do all that?
They said that, but they said that.
Okay.
But I don't think it said it in writing. They told me that, And when they tell you that, you're coming from somebody you trust, you believe it. Shit, you want to believe it.
Who set up?
When Paul Heyman would tell us a lot of crazy, exaggerated lies, we wanted to believe it. Who wouldn't? He's saying it so big and that we're so great that you want him to be telling you the truth, but he's not.
Well, that was what was interesting as a fan watching, was that whenever because after I saw the Heatwave 98, I think I ordered every ECW pay-per-view because ECW hadn't gotten a TV deal yet. So it was just, we could only watch the every other month pay-per-views. And when I watched them, it seemed like you guys sold out everywhere you went. So
it just looked that way. And they were kind of small arenas. But a lot of it was free also, papered. But I thought our pay-per-views should have been only done from ECW arena. So every pay-per-view every month done from the arena was telecast everywhere. So you always have that ECW experience, not ECW in Atlanta where it's a nice fancy arena, or Pittsburgh where it's a Golden Dome. It's really fancy. It's not us. Us was the ECW arena.
Right.
Right. Be it fancy or be it not, because it wasn't, but it was fancy enough to be that special.
Now,
I always thought we should have every pay-per-view from there, but no one agreed with me.
Now, when you were going through your, the ECW stint, did you?
Hold on 1 second. Like when WWF goes somewhere, WWE goes somewhere, they make that arena look like theirs. Every arena looks like theirs. Like they bring it in. Like you couldn't do that with ECW, so we should just save money and just always rent that arena for pay-per-view. So you'd always have the ECW experience our way.
No, that makes sense. No, that's okay. I was curious. Tell me your psyche when you were wrestling back then, because in your view, did you always feel as though you were the best wrestler on the card? How do you feel when you go out there?
Not necessarily the best. I always thought I was the smartest, because everybody would, I would do average things. They go, "How'd you do that?" And I go, "You don't know how to do that."
Right. So,
also they would say like, "I bet you really hurt your hand." I said, "Come on now." If I really hurt my hand, I wouldn't be doing it anymore.
I noticed that there were a few times when you were you were so believable when you were wrestling. Like I remember there was a time where it seemed like every match you hurt yourself and you grabbed some duct tape and you wrapped it up.
That was half work. I might have hurt myself a little bit, but you make it look more. Like a 10%, you make it look 70%. Some 70, you make it look 100. Whatever it is, you magnify it. Even if it doesn't hurt that much, since you're on stage, you get your money's worth.
Now, when you were working back then, did you have a reputation for being easy, good to work with, or stiff, or how did you have an idea?
I had a reputation after you wrestled me good. Before, everybody thought I was too stiff, but they didn't wrestle me. And usually when I wrestled a guy, I told him I'd give him an extra $100 if he told everybody it hurt. You know, say, man, fucking Sabu sucks, it hurts. So I give him an extra $100 if he would say that. And then so the guys who didn't wrestle me thinking that I'm hurting these guys, and I wasn't. Like Sandman, they used to thought I was really hurting the guys, and then Sandman would they'd kill each other. I go, that's not what I'm doing, but keep it up.
Yeah. So now when you're working, tell me what it was like to work with some of those guys like Sandman and RVD and Taz. I mean,
RVD's easy. That's cheap. I trained him. Taz is all right. He's a good competitive shithead kind of. You know, and Sandman was difficult at first because he was drunk, but then after you let the drunkenness slide, he was all right. Never a good match, but a good rough match. Yeah. Good enough rough match.
You know, it was interesting. So I took my two boys back to Philadelphia, and we did the hardcore reunion show at the old ECW arena just back here when we were back here this last year for WrestleMania. And there is a magic in that arena. What did you think about? I know you were back doing the signing, you weren't on the show, but tell me, what did you think about, you know, being back at the ECW arena again? How does that?
It's just the address, because the building's completely different. You know, it's just an address now, so it didn't really mean that much sentimental to me, because, like I said, it's just an address. The building has completely changed. And when we were there, it was a shithole, and that's what I mean. That's why we shooted every pay-per-view from there, because it was our shithole. You know, we didn't have to put up props; it was already there. The shit was already there. But now the shit is cleaned out. It's one level, and it's nice, but it don't seem like the same arena. So it doesn't really. You know, it's like I said, it's not even the same building now.
Sure. Now you get to you finally sign with WWE, and I can tell you I was excited for the reboot of ECW and quickly disappointed. What was your experience like when you finally got to the WWE?
What was that? When I finally got what?
When you finally got to the WWE, you signed a contract and you're with them.
Like I said, they said they were going to let me be me. They wanted Sabu like Sabu was in the heyday of ECW, and that they don't want to relive it. They just want to prolong it. And I said, all right, you know, I'm good. And then when I got there, it was like that for a couple months, and then slowly they took away everything. Couldn't jump off a chair, couldn't use a table, couldn't bleed, couldn't win.
Okay. And I remember one time they actually had you cut a promo and you'd never spoken before that, and I was like, what is going on?
Vince said that. He goes, I can see you being one of my top baby faces, but to be a top baby face, you got to be friendly and be able to talk. And I said, well, I'm neither one of those, but I think I can pull it off. And he goes, no, you can't. Like like sometimes I come out to come out to my son. I'll chase a fan a little bit, like kind of jump the guardrail, but not jump the guardrail. He goes, you can't do that. You're going to catch somebody. I said, no, I make sure they get away. The only one that doesn't like it is the one guy I'm chasing. The rest of the people like it because they think I'm going to kill him. And he goes, nah, you got to be a friendly baby face. I said, all right. And then he tried to have me cut a promo, and I purposely was doing it bad. And so he ended up using one word at a time: homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, 3 different takes to put that together.
Wow.
So I thought he was a favorite. Wow, that's pretty bad. Don't have him talk no more. But he goes, oh, we'll get it next time.
Now, was that by design? Like, did you want to just never cut promos, or why?
Yeah, well, no, by design. After I realized I was stage fright. I couldn't talk. I can't talk in front of people. I get cold feet big time. And so if I had to cut a promo that wasn't really my words and I didn't really feel it, I wouldn't be able to do that. It's too corny to me. Like Stephanie McMahon had a script for me after that, way after that one. And it was huge, long. And she goes, read it. So I'm reading it. She goes, well, stop. I go, she sounds like you're reading it. I said, I'm reading it. I said, I don't know these words. And then she goes, try it again. I said, I can't say these words. They're not words I would say. And she goes, just try it. And so I said, how about this? So I look at the script while I said, okay, action. And I tear it up and walk away and then come back. And I said, how was that? She goes, do it again. I go, do what again? Do that again? or read it again. And she goes, read it again. I said, I can't, but I'll be right back. And I left, didn't come back. And they took me off the pay-per-view the next day.
Wow, man. So, as far
that
as
was all because of the script, not because my wrestling was bad. Wrestling had nothing to do with that at all. Wrestling, not a one thing. Even my behavior, other than the script.
Mm. What would
you thing about the whole thing about me is the script?
Now, if you had an opportunity to be fantasy booker back then, what would you have hoped they would have done with you?
I would have hoped they would give me someone to talk like Fonzie or anybody, and not force me to do something that I disagreed with. You know, I don't have to agree with everything, but there's certain things that I would absolutely despise, like talking. I was so disturbed that they're wanting me to talk. I was so against it and couldn't get them to change their mind. Not even if like I refuse to talk. They go, well, if you don't talk, you're not in the match. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man. Now, after
to me, you know, the bottom line's wrestling. It's show business too, wrestling. But if the guy can't talk, don't make him fucking talk. Make him do what he's best at. And if that doesn't work, don't use him.
Mm-hmm. As you're going through after WWE, you get released. What's the next step? What was the next step for Sabu?
WWE, I don't know. I think it was Puerto Rico and all over the place. England. There was no like a major step company. I was always an independent. Even when I was at WWE, I wasn't with them wholeheartedly. You know, I was still doing stuff independently. Because when they hired me, I said I still have these other dates throughout the year when I got to make it. They let me do them.
Interesting.
They advised that I didn't do them because if I got hurt, I wouldn't make no money. But I said, but I already committed to them.
Wow, and that's super rare back then. They weren't letting anybody work indie shows.
No, but they go, if it's committed and you have to give the date right now, you can't add more to it.
So now, did you prefer being kind of independent? Is that something you always preferred?
Yeah, of course. The only thing with that is there's no pension and there's no workman's comp. I break my leg, it's my problem. If I was working for WWE and I break my leg, they at least pay my downside guarantee.
Right. And so did you have a lot of different times when you were not able to work?
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah. What was the worst injury you've had?
I had an infection a couple years ago, and that pretty much crippled me. But like my family and the fans, they put a show and stuff on and raised money for me. It was embarrassing, but I needed it. Yeah.
Well, and listen, there's nothing embarrassing about doing that. You needed it, and people came and helped you. There's nothing wrong with taking a little bit of service, you know. And so now. Yeah,
but you know, boom. What can I say? I was stuck. You know, I was stuck like a turtle on my back. I couldn't get up, and it was the first time I took a whole year off from wrestling. First time I ever took a year off, let alone recovering from something.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Now, so what are you doing now as far as wrestling goes? Are you just doing?
I quit a couple. I quit. I didn't retire, but I quit 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, but I just quit because I wasn't living up to my own book standard. But when I get that back, I'm gonna have one more match. That's all I promise is one more. I can't promise another run. I'm too old for that.
So are you trying to get back to doing a retirement match?
Yeah, I've been training like the last year, and it's a slow process. But I have a bad back and a bad knee and a bad shoulder, so it does help a little bit when I'm active with it. But sometimes it doesn't. I have bad days.
So you're in Vegas right now, right? That's where you're stationary. So
I'm in Vegas right now. I'm in Michigan.
Who do you train with out there?
Nobody. Oh, FCW, Future Stars of Wrestling.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I don't really train with them. I train at their gym and stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm familiar with that.
If somebody's there, I'll help them, but I don't have like a regular schedule with them.
No, that's awesome. I know some of the guys out there. I know I don't know if you know Super Beast. He had his wrestling promotion out there.
I get my steroids from him.
Yeah, sure, you'd love to hear that.
That's why it's called Super Beast.
Well, yeah. So I know him pretty well, and I know some of the other guys are out there. So that's really cool that you're working with Future Stars. That's a good promotion out there. So
Yeah.
when you have your final match, where are you hoping to have it?
If I get to call on the shots in Las Vegas,
Okay.
I want it in the summer in Las Vegas, Las Vegas, and against somebody other than Van Dam, but Van Dam if it's I need a ringer.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I represent Van Dam, it's too predictable and it's it's cheating. I know him like the back of my hand. I want someone with more of a challenge, a younger guy, a younger guy I can beat.
Okay. Do you still talk to Van Dam much?
Oh yeah, almost every other day or almost every day because we're doing that OnlyFans. You ever heard of that?
Yeah. Okay.
You ever heard of that? Not OnlyFans, only wrestlers. Yeah,
I was gonna say, I was like, what do you do for OnlyFans? It's like Sabu's on OnlyFans.
No, only wrestling. It's like OnlyFans with our clothes on.
Okay. I was gonna say, I was like, oh man, you heard it here first. Sabu's doing foot pictures on OnlyFans.
But I talk to him pretty often. But yeah, we're cool. Yeah, he lives in Las Vegas also.
Oh, that's awesome. So you guys see each other quite a bit, I assume.
Yeah. We hang out down at the Strip, and we go to the same bar.
Oh, nice. Okay. Now, as far as is there anybody else that you kind of consider just to be real close with now?
Johnny from the bar.
Nice.
Santana Jackson, the Michael Jackson impersonator. You ever seen him?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah, he does the moonwalk DDT.
Nice.
Anyways, I hang out with him a couple times a week.
Oh, that's great. Tell me, if you could define your own legacy in wrestling, what do you think it would be?
I wouldn't. I can't do that. That's why other people do that.
What would you
I
hope?
would say it would sound egotistical, but I never thought about it like that. Of course, I want people to respect me and all that stuff, but that's up to them. If I have to order you to respect me, then it's probably not deserved.
Was there ever a match that you wanted to have that you didn't get to have?
Brock Lesnar.
You wanted to work Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, that's still not out of the water. If he comes down off his high horse, I'd wrestle him.
Yeah, you'd still like to wrestle Brock Lesnar?
I know there's no money. They could offer enough money, and me, he couldn't. I'll do it for free.
Yeah. Wow. So, was there a match is there anybody you liked working with during your WWE run?
Van Dam. No, Kurt Angle was pretty good.
Yeah. You liked working?
Yeah, and Matt Striker was real good. And Monty Brown, I liked wrestling him, wrestling him. Even John Cena, I liked wrestling him.
Nice. So, how many matches did you have with Cena?
I had two matches, and I think a run-in.
Oh wow, cool. Those weren't on TV though, were they?
Yeah, one was a lumberjack match. One was a single match, and then the run-in was a boot to the table and maybe a boot to something else.
Oh, nice. Okay, interesting. I don't remember that. That'd been fun.
Oh, there's one in the dressing room where he goes deal or no deal, and I go deal.
Nice.
That was leading up to a match.
Nice. So now, when you're not talking wrestling, what do you do? What do you do for fun?
I don't talk wrestling, that's for sure. But I don't do nothing really. It's not like I'm talking business, but not actually hand-to-hand wrestling. I'm talking about my next booking or a flight coming up or something like that. I do that all day long.
Do you have any other?
Every week is a different detail for somewhere else.
Yeah. Are you doing a lot of the conventions?
Yeah. I do a convention almost every week. I'd like to do more. I wish I could do them every week, like religiously, but I'm not booked up for them that much. But yeah, I do conventions and I do meet and greets at shows, at intermission and stuff.
Yeah. How do you like meeting the fans like that?
Yeah, I get cold feet because I say, maybe that they're not going to remember who I am. And so right before I go out, I always get second thoughts. Sometimes if I don't have somebody there pushing me, I won't go out. I'll wait. But if I have someone pushing me, I'll go do it. And after I do it, I'm always glad I did it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's so interesting to think that you go out there and you have wrestled in front of thousands and thousands of fans, but talking to someone one-on-one might give you a little bit of anxiety. That's interesting.
Well, that's not what I'm best at. If you want to see what I'm best at, I'll do it on stage. If you see what I'm not very good at, I'm not going to show you at all.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I see that. So
I'm not going to show off what I'm not good at.
Yeah. So now, the wrestling business is hard on relationships. Tell me, we hear a lot about what wrestling has given you. Is there anything that you kind of regret for being a pro wrestler?
I was married to my first wife for 17 years. 14 years was good. The last year wasn't. But I met her through wrestling, and that was a blessing, kind of, and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
But when I married her, I was already established. I was 34, 35 years old. I wasn't like 25 years old just trying to make it, because that would hold you back. So I don't recommend marriage or a heavy duty girlfriend before you make it. If you have one before you make it, you're not going to make it as far. They're always going to hold you back.
We're gonna go outside and wait for you.
5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes.
So
I used to take my wife everywhere with me, but that was after I was established.
Right.
Not coming up. Like whenever anybody wants to ride with me, I'll say, you can come, but you can't bring your girl or wife. They go, why not? You bring yours. I say, because I'm paying for it and I've earned it. You guys haven't earned it yet.
Right. That's interesting. So what kind of advice, if there are people listening, I know a lot of indie wrestlers are going to be listening to this. What is a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's trying to get up and trying to get into the space where you were 7 years in?
You just got to keep being hungry and looking at things, not how it's done, how you can do it, how you can make it different. Not necessarily put a twist on it, just the technique you use, and you want I've always looked at. I never watched when I started training wrestling when I was 19. I didn't watch wrestling no more. I studied it. It was a book. It was my homework. It wasn't like see who wins and loses. I don't care about that. I didn't care about promos. I didn't care about nothing but the actual combat of wrestling, hand-to-hand thing, how they did it. And if everybody did it, it's probably because it was easy. So Uncle always said, "Don't do something because it's easy." Not that don't do something because it's hard. You do something that it's different. Or try to do something that's different.
Right. So try to
I would say keep your imagination open and study wrestling.
Okay. So now I'm going to get to kind of the last three questions that I ask everybody, and I want to, want to ask you these questions too. They're kind of more existential questions, but what would you say is your biggest success in life?
Well, it would have to be wrestling, of course, but what do you mean? I'm
just considering what you would say is your biggest success in life. Some people say, it's my career. Some people say it's my, my marriage or my kids or whatever. What do you think for you would be your
I guess it would be my duty as a son. I did my duty as a son.
And why do you say that? What do you mean?
Well, my mother took care of me for 20 years. When I became 20, I moved out, but I brought her with me. So I took care of her for the next 27 years. She lived with me. So we were never apart. We were together for 47 years. That's a son's duty, is to protect your mother until the day she dies.
Wow.
So, but I'm proud of that.
Yeah, you should be.
Times were hard, but I got through it. And if we had argued, 5 minutes later, I go, "I'm sorry, Mom." She goes, "I know."
Yeah. Wow. And so now, if you were to say, what is your biggest failure in life, what would that be, and what did you learn from it?
How to manage my money. And I didn't learn nothing from it. I still don't know how to manage it.
Oh, yeah.
When I was younger, I didn't care if I lost money or didn't get paid a lot of times. Like when Paulie would bounce the checks on me, I didn't care at the time because I had money coming in from Japan. And I was young and healthy. I would always make more money. But then I got to a point where I said, wow, I'm not as young as I used to, and money doesn't come by that easy
Mm-hmm.
So, I regret not having somebody help me in that area. I was too stubborn.
Yeah.
I just thought it wasn't going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. If you're not putting a little bit away for the future, it becomes a struggle.
Yeah, I didn't think about that because I go, I'll put it away next time or next year or in 10 years. And 10 years go by and I go, damn, I should have put it away.
Yeah. No, that's a good lesson. A lot of people, even in what I do, I'm an attorney, and even with what I do, people do that. They don't think about what's coming
But when you're young like that, when I was young like that, and I was jamming, I got held back for all those years. Then it was my time to blossom. I took advantage of it. I threw my weight around when I could. Not like an asshole, but I would say make demands what I wouldn't make 5 years before that, and see if I could get them. And I would get them. And other guys, they would say, "Hey man, you can't do that. That's not fair to the other boys." And I go, "No, it's not fair that they don't give all the boys that. I'm sorry if you don't get it."
Right.
And it wasn't always that way. I used to eat dirt too. I still eat dirt.
Mm-hmm.
But there were times where I got my way, and it looked like I was pulling my weight, and I was.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So tell me now, the last question I ask everybody is: at some point down the road, you pass away, you have a funeral, someone will give your eulogy. What do you hope the one thing is that somebody says about you in your eulogy?
I don't know. You can't ask me questions like that. It sounds conceited. I hope they say, "That's not my dad. You're not the father." I don't know. Other than, like I said, it means a lot to have respect for people who know better. They look beyond the celebrity and see the person and still have respect for them. That's the kind of person, I have a few guys that are like that. I have other guys that respect me only because I'm a celebrity, and they're only saying I'm right because who I am, not because I'm right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I see through that. I don't want those kind of guys around. They're fun to have. It's fun to have someone saying you're right all the time, but it's not healthy.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you one thing that I love. I always loved about you and just the Sabu character was I loved that you were so independent. Like it's sure a lot of guys went to the WWE, they made a bunch of money in their system. It's very rare that you have somebody like you who really I kind of put you in the same place as Ric Flair, where you go anywhere you draw money. You know what I mean? Anywhere you go, you can make money, and you didn't need the WWE or the WCW to blossom, and you kept true to your art. And does that make sense?
Yeah, I tried to. I tried.
Yeah, and I mean, like I think it's so many people. I think with your career, when they got to the WWE, would have been like, "Oh, I finally made it," and you still stayed true to yourself to the extent they tried to change you, and you just said, "Forget it, I'm not doing this," and you left. And I find that to be admirable. They say wrestlers are independent contractors. You truly were an independent contractor, and that I think that's admirable. So do you have an idea when you want to do this last match?
Not for at least 6 months to about a year from now. I still got a lot of weight to put on, and like my joints are still pretty sore. I want to get some stem cell stuff put in or therapy done pretty soon.
Okay. Well, definitely let us know when it happens, because I would love to be there when you do your final match. So now, if there are people here who want to follow you who aren't already, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram, the Real Sabu ECW, Twitter at the Real Sabu ECW, and on Facebook, Terry Brunk, my real name.
Awesome. And so all your booking information there too, if anybody wants to book you. Awesome.
Yeah, if they need anything, just DM me or message me or whatever.
Awesome. Well, I got to tell you, it's a pleasure to finally meet you and talk to you. I've been following you for over 30 years now, and it's just thank you for all the memories. Thank you for all the things. My kids, my two boys, I still show them old ECW stuff to show them how hot wrestling used to be, and you're a big part of that. So
okay, right on. Thank you.
All right. Well, it was good talking to you. For those who listen, follow Sabu, and we'll catch you next time.